really good shape. Oh my God.
Aviation opportunities. So a couple key terms we got here, a few more. Each one of these lessons will have a lot of key terms. There's just certain things that I'm required to cover. So these are the key terms that we have here. You guys can see them up there. Refresher training, a couple of different things that I can do after I earn my pilot certificate to either keep myself sharp or to continue to improve my piloting skills in one way or another. And there's a couple of programs to do that. I encourage you to continue doing that. A few associations, AOPA. I saw in there AOPA of Russia. That was great. Any AOPA members? Hey, great. This is awesome. I'm an AOPA member. I have been for a long time. I try to continue to pay my dues. They remind me if I don't, and I should get the legal part. They have some legal assistance too, because now the FAA is always on everybody about different airspaces and all that. Aircraft checkout, and remember we were talking about category and class. We said, okay, we're going to be certified soon as airplane single engine land pilots. Well, there's certain restrictions that I have with that. I can fly a lot of airplanes with airplane single engine land, but there's some that I cannot. So we'll take a look and figure out what I can do. Instrument rating. Where do I go from there, right? Multi-engine rating. We were talking about the different ratings, single engine, multi-engine C ratings. The natural progression, and a question came up during break, was how do I do the certificates? So I can tell you, normally, again, you'll do private pilot because you have to start as a private pilot. Then you get an instrument rating. And the reason why you do that, this makes sense money-wise, so it's budget-friendly. The reason you do that instrument rating after the private pilot is the hour restrictions that you need, or the minimum hours that you need for a commercial pilot. I have to have at least 250 hours to be a commercial pilot. Now with the 141 program, which we are 141, and pilots have enjoyed successes going through the 141 program, you can earn your commercial pilot certificate with 195 hours. You actually have a little bit less time that you'd spend using that commercial pilot certificate training for that, okay? Instead of 250, 195. But private pilot only takes 40, realistically 50 to 60, maybe 70 depending, right? Chuck Yeager would do it in 40, all right? Everybody else, normal people, we do it in 50 to 70, somewhere in that range, okay? If you start going over 70, something might not be right, okay, so think about it. But anyways, after you get your private pilot certificate, spend some time flying, because I need that to become a commercial pilot and earn that instrument rating. It just makes sense. It's kind of budget friendly to do it that way. Then you get the commercial pilot certificate. Now the question that came up during break was, do I have to have a single engine commercial pilot? Well, you don't have to. Some pilots know that they have no ambition to fly something single engine and try to make money with it. There's more money with multi-engine airplanes. They're just really, for the most part, and I can't think of any examples where that's not true. So multi-engine airplanes are going to pay more if we're trying to make money doing it. But if you earn a multi-engine commercial, you only have private pilot privileges for your single. Does that make sense a little bit? So that's why most pilots will get a commercial pilot single, and then they add on the multi-engine rating. Now there's a lot of different schools out there. There's ATP, which they're right next door to us over there in Fort Lauderdale. There's a couple of different schools, and their thought is, we're going to train pilots 80 hours in the multi-engine airplane, and then they're going to earn the multi-engine rating. Okay, that's fine. Well, it's because their multi-engine airplanes would sit on the ramp if they didn't do that. You know, collect rust, okay? You don't need to fly the multi-engine airplane that much to get rated on it. I usually do the training. There's another gentleman, Luke. He's young. We mentored him for the past 3 years while he was working there as an intern. And he does a very good job. You'll only spend maybe 10 hours in a multi-engine airplane, and then you get rated. So what most pilots will do is get that single engine commercial and then earn the multi-engine rating, okay? So just going through our key terms, there's a couple of things that you do. Once you earn that certificate, you add different ratings to that certificate. Helicopter, glider rating, air balloon, commercial pilot certificates discussed, airline transport pilot, if you want to fly jets, that's what you have to have. Recreational, region, then it goes into how do I make a career out of this? Regional airlines, major corporate flying, aerial application, or crop dusters. Okay. Look at these guys. Came right out of the book. I couldn't make that picture up myself. This is potentially you and your happy instructor. Okay? That photo probably never happens. The one person is trying to literally kill the other person, and the other person is actually trying to kill the other person. So true life, you might not look exactly like this with your flight instructor, but oh well. Okay, other things that we can do. So once you earn that pilot certificate, remember that first chapter we're talking about earning it. Now, what are the opportunities? Once you earn the pilot certificate, maybe I'm going to buy an airplane. I'm going to buy an airplane and I'll continue to use it all on my own, or I'm not going to go to an airline, or maybe I am, or to be a flight instructor. Some things that you may still need training for is maybe you're going to plan a trip to an unfamiliar airport. You want to go to North Carolina. Okay. Spend some time with the flight instructor on that specific trip, even if you're already certified. Because a lot of these places are challenging. Now, I've flown to a lot, just using North Carolina as an example, I've flown to a lot of different airports in Central America, South America, the Caribbean, North America. And I've found a lot of different places with some really unique challenges, okay? An unexperienced pilot or a very little experienced pilot will not have the tools necessary to make this an enjoyable trip. You might make it safely, but it would not be enjoyable, okay? So spend some time with that flight instructor. Let them go through and teach you and mentor you and show you where the pitfalls are. How could this go wrong and how to avoid those. Okay, maybe I plan to fly frequently at night, but I don't have any night experience. Again, you have to have a certain amount of experience at night just to carry passengers. And if I want to fly at night, it is an entirely different... anyone flown at night yet? A little bit? Your eyes actually use different components to send the messages to your brain. Right? Your eye has two different components, cones and rods, and it uses different, and those work a little differently. So flying the airplane a little bit different, and again, you want to have that experience with an instructor or somebody that's there. Or maybe I'm accustomed to operating in a small airport with very little traffic. Fort Lauderdale Executive. Is anybody familiar so far with Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport? Let me tell you, the traffic that you have here is terrible. Okay, I was amazed. I heard that the traffic was terrible, but I could not believe how bad it was until I got here. Okay, that traffic volume is pretty close to what we have at Fort Lauderdale Executive. But things move a lot faster. I sat in a taxi cab just sitting there, and we weren't moving at all. Airplanes can't sit there in the air. They have to continue to move. Fort Lauderdale Executive is a very, very busy place, okay? How many of you are familiar with liveatc.net? Yes, you guys are awesome. Have you listened to Fort Lauderdale Executive? Yeah. Do that. Listen to Approach. Listen to the ATIS, right? Write down the ATIS. Learn how to do that stuff. People talk fast. Sometimes they tell me that I'm talking fast. So far, nobody's told me to pump the brakes yet. I'm glad, because I'm talking pretty slow. When you get over there to ATC, it's happening now. And it could cause major problems. Probably not a crash. It could, and I've seen it happen. But that's rare. But it could cause some certificate issues. It could cause you to get written up, and they file a report on you with the FAA, which conveniently located right there in Miramar. It's only 20 minutes away. So yeah, it's a fast running place. This is a very, very busy airport at Fort Lauderdale Executive. If you could fly in and out of there, it's what I call the crucible. If you could fly in and out of there, you're probably okay to fly just about anywhere, okay? And then maybe it's been a sufficient long time. Remember, I told you, your pilot certificate does not expire. So I've got a pilot certificate. It's never going to not be valid. But I can't operate an airplane as PIC unless I have a flight review within the 24 calendar months previously, okay? I can't carry passengers unless I've done 3 takeoffs and landings for those types of conditions within the preceding 90 days, all right? So it doesn't expire, but they do require me to continue to fly. Maybe it's been a long time since you've flown. I've been to Iraq a couple of times. That was just a great time. Well, while I was gone, I didn't do any flying. I don't do flying for the Army at all. When I come back, I've flown for thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. I still fly with somebody else, usually Joe, and it's usually the only time Joe gets in an airplane. Right? I've got a picture of every time he's flown with me. But anyways, I still do this training after I take 12 months off or whatever the case may be. Okay? Take a look here. Certain airports that you come to may have some operational pitfalls, some performance requirements. We're going to go into an entire section on navigation. That should be pretty fun. But look at this one here at Lake County Airport, Leadville, Colorado. Landing at North America's highest paved runway, 9,900 feet. If it's a very hot day, the airplane that we fly may not be able to operate at that density altitude. We may not be able to produce enough power, and the wings may not be able to produce enough lift to take off. Okay? So, again, using some flight instructor to help us prepare for that. If you want to do the fun flying, anybody want to ride the Vomit Comet? That's what I call it. So it's a great time, but certainly don't try to fly it all by yourself before you get in there with another flight instructor. For those of you that are AOPA members, they have training and safety videos. I'll try to if I get an opportunity. I don't show many videos because I usually talk too much. But I'll try to if I get an opportunity to show you guys a couple of nice little videos. Usually it's about somebody crashing, right? Because those make an impact. But this is a very, very useful tool. If you're interested in flying in icing conditions, for instance, maybe I want to take a look and search on AOPA's website for icing conditions or crashes involving icing, because that's usually how we learn about someone else's mistake, is because they crashed. All right. Okay, some airplanes are either high performance or complex. Here we're starting to get into the little small details. All right, I'm a detail-oriented guy. This is a detail-oriented culture that we're in. So, a complex airplane has 3 things. A complex airplane will have an adjustable pitch propeller. We haven't even started talking about propellers yet. Oh my gosh. Okay, just means a propeller that I can control from inside the cockpit. Not all airplanes have that. So it needs to have an adjustable pitch propeller, retractable landing gear. You can see how this one has a little landing gear that's retractable, and flaps. So, complex airplane, what does it need? Stuff we haven't even talked about yet. Okay, that's fair. Fair enough. You can't fly one until you get training on one of these. Does that make sense? Because I'm certified to fly private pilot, airplane, single engine land. If it's an airplane, single engine, and it lands on the land and not water, I can fly it. Okay? Except for certain things. One of those certain things is, if it's complex, not until you receive training. We don't even know what a constant speed propeller is yet, right? Okay, something else. High performance airplanes. Kind of lose me there with high performance, because they say anything greater than 200 horsepower, okay? Means it does not include an airplane that has 200 horsepower. Did you guys see the Cirrus that we have in the video? 678 Delta Golf? The little low wing white airplane, single engine land, has a parachute on it, kind of neat. That's a fun airplane. It has exactly 200 horsepower. As a private pilot, airplane single engine land, you can fly that all you want to. Now, don't tell Cirrus that because they want you to take their little program. Okay, they make a nice program, but you don't need to. You can fly it, no problem at all. Well, Joe's not going to let you fly it until you do the program, but you are legal to fly the thing, okay? If it had more than 200 horsepower, you can't fly it. So they'll always say if it has 201. No manufacturer has made an airplane with 201 horsepower. I can tell you that they won't do it. But they will make one 215, 230, 250, 300, whatever, okay? So anything that has more than 200 horsepower, I have to have a one-time endorsement by a flight instructor to fly that thing. Tail wheels. Some airplanes are more suited for certain types of operation. Like if I'm going to fly one in on dirt runways or in mud or something like that, which we fly those airplanes like that, you want to keep the propeller as far away from the ground as possible. So an easy way to do that, make it a tail wheel. This is called conventional because the first airplanes were like this. They were conventional. So this is your tail wheel airplane. I can't fly this. If I did all my training in a Cessna, I can't fly this until I receive training on that type of airplane, okay? All right. Ask yourself these three questions before committing construction of your own airplane. So this is a RV-8 or RV something. Some pilots will fly an airplane that they built themselves. Do I have experience to do the work? Do I have the money and time? Where am I going to build the airplane? Family supported by the project, whatever. Anybody planning on building airplanes? All right, fantastic. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. But again, something that I would have to have additional training for. Experimentals or home builds. People fly these things all the time. And instrument training. You see what's going on with her? I can't wait. That's when it's fun. So how can I fly in a cloud if there's no cloud? How do I practice flying instruments if I don't ever have a cloud and I can't fly through it because I'm not instrument rated? We put on these view limiting devices, or they call them foggles. So you'll spend some time wearing these. In the private pilot certification program, a minimum of 3 hours. You're gonna have at least 3 hours. You'll probably have a little bit more, but not much. In the instrument program, you'll have considerably more, up 35 hours of time just looking through those, and you're looking at the instruments on the panel and not looking outside. Well, some pilots peek outside, and you're not supposed to. Okay, multi-engine airplanes is an example of one. If I'm going to fly a multi-engine airplane, this requires a new certificate rating. So again, this will require a designated pilot examiner, not just a flight instructor. Actually go back to that pilot examiner. Either one of these two things, of course, they require the same thing. Helicopters, an entirely different rating. So if I'm a helicopter pilot, I can't fly an airplane, the same thing. If I'm an airplane pilot, I can't fly a helicopter. It requires a new rating. You guys will like this one probably. I don't know what in the world that is. I know who you will not find in that thing, me. I'm not going to fly in it, okay? But apparently it's a powered lift airplane, and you could, or powered lift aircraft, and you could get in that thing and fly it. Gliders. One day I will probably fly these. I have that ambition. Do you guys remember Sullenberger? I think his name was Charles, right? Sully? If I remember Sully, he landed the Airbus in the Hudson. Do you know that Airbus was, the insurance company, US Airways Insurance Company, was challenging and suing him because there was one item that his FO missed. He called it out on the checklist, but the FO missed it, and it caused that airplane to submerge just a little further than it normally would have, caused a little more damage than it would have, and the insurance company is now trying to sue the guy. Welcome to America. That's all I gotta say. Insurance companies. Anyways, Sullenberg was a great glider pilot, and of course now he flew an Airbus that became a glider, and he landed the thing no problem at all. He already knew what he was doing. Okay. All right, a couple other things. Balloon students, balloons. Okay, great. I guess to finish a balloon ride, people cheers and drink champagne. I don't know. Have you done it? Anybody? This, to me, when I first saw this, I was like, well, maybe balloon pilots can drink, but no, it's not that. It's after you get on the ground, you're supposed to be able to drink. Here we are. This, oh yeah, big smiles on everybody now. That's what I want to fly right there. Transport category. Large transport category airplanes. Now, these airplanes will require a different certification because it's a different category airplane. Right? This is a transport category airplane. But I also need what's called a type rating. So for each kind of jet or each kind of airplane that weighs more than 12,500 pounds, I need to have a type rating. And that comes from an FAA designated examiner or the administrator. They issue that type rating. Somebody that's type rated to fly a 787 cannot automatically fly a Learjet. They just cannot do it. They have to become type rated in that type airplane. Okay, a couple other things here. It goes on to how can I make money doing this stuff? Air taxi and air charter. I do a lot of air charter. It's fun. I go home every night, so I'm not on the road ever. Aircraft sales representative, land survey. You know, there's a lot of pipeline surveys, and I imagine there would be here too. In fact, I was invited by a company to go to Kuwait City, and they wanted me to help them develop their pipeline survey program. You're in an airplane, usually something small, right? And you're just flying with a camera underneath and you're surveying and building flight time. I know quite a few pilots that have built a lot of flight time, because how do you get from 250 hours to 1,500? That's like the dead man zone. It's like, how do, you know, because you cannot be hired by anybody until you're at 1,500 hours. So how do you go from 250 to 1,500? Well, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Flight instructing is one of them, all right? Sightseeing, we have one of those at the school as well. Power line and pipeline, air ambulance pilots, specialized agencies to fly food and so forth, environmental services, and test pilots. This is one I think would be fun, to be a test pilot. You know, keep in mind that while you're flying any of these things, if you're not exactly right with weight and balance, let's say the airplane's only certified for 2,300 pounds, and you do your weight and balance, and you're 2,304 pounds, don't take off. You're not a test pilot. At that point in time, you're actually a test pilot. It's not necessary. Stay within the limits. Okay. And of course, they advertise a little bit there for CFI. I don't know how these two are smiling. You're probably not going to smile that much. They both probably, that was the one time that the flight instructor told a joke. Okay? And I don't know how they're smiling this much in the classroom either. It's impossible. Whatever. Yeah. Okay. Air taxis, this one also would probably require a type rating because of the weight of the airplane. How much does this thing weigh? More than 12,500 pounds gross weight. Turboprop, so I don't need a type, for instance, on a King Air. When I say King Air, do you guys know what I'm talking about with a King Air Beechcraft? It's a twin turboprop airplane, less than 12,500 pounds, except for the 350. The 350 requires a type rating because it's more than 12,500 pounds. Now this one's turboprop, but more than 12.5, I still need a type rating for that. And of course, their 737, man, haven't they had a bad run in the news with the 737 MAX? I don't know what all is going to happen out of that, but anyways, of course, this does need. Well, how do we get here? And that's the dynamic question. That's always the question that pilots will have once they get to multi-engine, you're an instructor, you're whatever in the world. How do I get from 300 hours to 1,500? Bunch of different ways. So flight experience, here's the criteria. Who's going to hire, how is the airline going to hire you? Flight experience, major airlines, regional airlines. So you fly for a regional airline. They have lower standards. In fact, a lot of regional airlines, and there was one at the school a couple weeks ago, they'll give you $30,000. $10,000 of it they'll give you to you right now today, cash money in your pocket, All you got to do is promise them that you're going to find a way to get 1,500 hours over the next 18 months. So there's a lot of programs that the regionals will reach out. And right now we have a pilot shortage. There's a lot of different ways to make some pretty good cash doing that. You got to have the ATP certificate. So got to get to 1,500 hours. Very important. How do you do that? Who knows? Education, they don't require a bachelor's degree. It's not required by any airline. But it puts you on a preferred list. So if there's 20 people that applied to be an airline pilot, and 18 of them have bachelor's degrees and 2 of them don't, the 2 that don't have bachelor's, they might not get hired. It depends. Maybe they need all 20 and they'll hire them all. Okay? And then interview skills. You got to have some personality. This is probably why I never could pass an interview. They'd ask me, you know, some kind of crazy question. I don't care what you're talking about. I couldn't interview very well. So anyhow, you got to be able to interview very, very well and be prepared for that. Okay, there's corporate aviation. This is the famous picture of a Learjet or whatever. You'll see 1,000 of these at Banyan, which is an FBO down there in Fort Lauderdale Executive. And I'm not sure which kind of airplane that is, a Phenom or something. It's an Embraer. So once you earn that many hours, once you get the 1,500, 2,000 hours, you can get into a jet like this and travel around. Good deal. If I'm a multi-engine pilot, commercial multi-engine pilot, can I fly this airplane and act as PIC? No, because this one requires the type rating. Remember, it's turbojet powered, and this one requires, or either one of these two will require a type rating just because they're turbojet and probably over 12,005. Crop dust. The regulation in the FAA for crop dusting is only like 4 pages long. It is the least regulated out of any. You would think it would be the most regulated out of any of them. But there's a lot of good time to be had, whether you're doing it over here. One of the pilots that I was just flying with, he earned his commercial multi. And actually, he was on the flight when I came over here. He was on the flight with me. He flew an Antonov 2 for years and years and years. And then he flew 777. He went from the Antonov 2 to a Boeing 777. I was like, how did but that's what he did. Couple other different things, powered lift, of course you got this guy, and a couple of supersonic things. There's always a military application or military available. I know, and I've spoken with people from all over the world that have joined the U.S. military with a green card, and then they get all their flight training, they put them in an airplane, they pay them, and they give them a U.S. passport. So it's an option for anybody, just like the Coast Guard is an option as well. All right, a couple of different ways to make some money doing this thing. There are other things that you could do. This guy's towing an airplane. This guy's working on an airplane. Air traffic control. Right? I'm not a big fan of air traffic control. I like them, but no. Pilot and command, remember? And these guys get a little crazy sometimes. Inspectors and so forth. So a couple of different things that you can do and still enjoy the aviation experience. Okay, that's the end of section B for aviation opportunities. And then we'll take lunch break and we'll go into the next one. The key terms for all the rest of them are here. This is an introduction to human factors, because the one thing that so far has not changed about aviation and commercial aviation is that you'll still have a human inside. Yeah, they got drones and doing all kinds of different things, but there's always going to be a human inside every commercial pilot aviation experience. Nobody's getting on airplanes that are flown by computers yet. Okay? So that next section is human factors and an introduction to, because people are people and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to have to make decisions and so forth. So that's what we got coming up.